Introducing Zach Davis and Josh Anderson with the SoundMoney Podcast.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of SoundMoney Sound Principles Podcast. My name is Josh Anderson here with Zach Davis. How are you, Zach?
I'm good. Hey, everybody.
Man, what an awesome day it is to be with the listeners today for a really fun topic, Zach. It's a topic you and I have dove a lot into in our business lives the last year and a half. We're definitely all in on this topic. It's something that we believe is absolutely the future, and it brings up some serious questions. And so today we want to tackle some of the questions surrounding and discuss some of the finer points of AI technology, right? Not necessarily the technology and what it can do. You know, the listeners, we've talked to them in the past about how you and I use AI tools, you know, such as Grok or ChatGPT or those things, right? Or imaging software or things. We use it every day. And our listeners have heard us talk about how we greatly incentivize all of our employees through all of the different sectors and companies we're involved in to use it every day. But today, the topic we want to really break down, to me, is really important because I've seen a lot of anti-propaganda out there. I'm like, driving me nuts. Like these, by the way, if you're one of these, I apologize right off the bat. But if you're like a freak liberal psycho that doesn't understand how GDP grows and how money works, and you think that AI is going to kill you, I know.
A freak liberal psycho?
I know. Sorry, Zach. Sorry. Nobody actually wakes up in the morning and says,
Tell us how you really feel.
hey, I'm a little upset. I read some articles recently, and I listened to some things, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we got some freaks out there. They don't understand the power of what this transformative technology is, and they're trying to regulate it before it's even born, Zach. Like, this DARPA crap and all these, these psychos, bro, psychos. Just thank goodness we got rid of the Biden administration. They were trying to kill this technology before it ever got off the ground. And we want to take the time today, and we want to talk about, hey, is AI going to kill jobs? I mean, we got people out there saying it's going to kill 20% of the workforce in the next 2 years. We got people out there saying on the extreme side that it's going to completely obliterate and kill all business and employment in the United States of America. And then, and so the question we're going to pose today, Zach, is AI going to kill jobs or is it going to create jobs? And we want to jump in there and tackle that for a minute today and how we really feel about it. This is a topic, hey, as an entrepreneur, you got to understand it, and you got to know where it's going and what it's going to do and how it's going to affect you. But you got to know on a global level what it has the potential to do and what it can't do. And so we want to jump in there for a minute today, Zach, and talk about it. So first, some opening thoughts about AI and the platform and what's going on there in the world.
It's coming. I mean, there's no stopping it. Technology just advances so rapidly nowadays, and what's really sad, Josh, I think, is the hard part for people to get a grip on. In fact, I'll just use Doge as an example. Okay, by and large, I think most people understand that we don't have responsible spending at the government. I think most people want their money to go to things that actually benefit the American people, right? When you're spending trillions of dollars in interest, that's trillions of dollars that can't go towards defense projects. That's trillions of dollars that can't go towards social reform. That's trillions of dollars that can't go towards roads and bridges and infrastructure and all these things, right? So I think by and large, people want what that represents, but the hardest part is they don't want the change that comes with it. So when you start pulling the sheet back on all that spending that's been happening, it's like everybody's like, yay, we're going to handle on that. And then it directly affects them and they lose a contract that the government was paying them. Right. And now they're no longer in business. They're like, okay, now that's not cool because it directly affected me. So I think AI and technology is somewhat the same thing. I think people are excited about it, what the possibilities can do about it, but it represents change. And you posed the question in the beginning, is it going to kill jobs or is it going to create jobs? The answer is yes. Like there's going to be some disruption. And so I think personally, by and large, it's going to create more jobs than it's going to kill. I don't think we even understand what it's going to bring to bear because there's industries that have not even been invented yet that once AI and robotics are fully implemented, all of a sudden some genius with a lot of money is going to go, well, I'm going to put my money into this and going to create some whole new industry that is going to create thousands of jobs. So the answer is yes. Unfortunately, I think there are going to be some people that are going to be displaced because there are things that robotics and AI can do just better and more efficiently than humans can do. And if a company wants to stay relevant and if a company wants to stay in business, they're going to have to embrace it because their competitors are going to. And if they don't embrace it, then the competitors are going to run away. And then all those jobs are going to be lost anyway, right? Because that company's going to go out of business. So most companies, by and large, don't have a choice but to embrace what's coming. And I'm optimistic about it. I think it's exciting. And I think if people keep an open mind, now, I mean, yes, there are going to be some people who are going to have to get some new skill sets, right? You may have to go back to school for something. You may have to look into a different industry and figure out, what other skill sets and talents can I leverage. But by and large, I think it's going to be a blessing to people.
So I think we're in this pivotal moment, right? Like, and yeah, I'm a little fiery about it, but I do think people like DARPA and some of these organizations and these government officials who are trying to regulate it before it's even been born is the stupidest thing in the world. And I liken it.
Let it go. See where it goes.
Like I liken it to, I've told the listeners before, I love history, right? And call me crazy, but I actually like to see in history what our government did in the past around like issues and what we can learn for it. So for example, at the turn of the century, almost all of your ancestors and mine, Zach, because we live in the western part of the United States, and most of the United States outside of the eastern seaboard at the turn of the century were all farmers. And all farmers at the turn of the century could only manage and take care of 40 acres, right? True? Most of your ancestors that way?
Yep.
Turn of the century?
Yep, big farm for them.
Yeah, big farm, right? Because at the turn of the century...
And you had to have lots of kids.
You had lots of kids to manage the 40 acres.
Because that's who worked it.
Yes.
Right? You couldn't afford to pay outside labor. You had to have kids to help you do it.
And when they... And so everybody at the turn of the century is a farmer in the West, in most of the United States, okay, except for the eastern seaboard. And in the process of that, if you go back and look at legislation and government discussion at the advent of the tractor, it was, we should regulate it so you can't buy it, you can't have it. It's going to completely eliminate all labor in America. This is how they looked at the tractor. The crazy things they're saying about AI today, it's going to eliminate all labor. And it's going to eliminate for every tractor. They said in Congress, it's going to eliminate 10 laborers. And they said it's going to destroy America. Well, actually, what it did was 100% the opposite. It removed the bulk of labor out of food production. It dropped the price of food. Yes, did it change where people worked? Absolutely. People then, we call this the Industrial Revolution, right? And people left the field because they weren't needed there. And they went to factories and they started putting food in cans. The first time we ever had canned food, right? Like we started doing all these other things. But some of the powerful things there, Zach, do you know the median income went up and in an 8-year period, it doubled? Do you know that we actually went from a 7-day work week to a 5-day work week? The common person went to between a 40 and 60 hour work week in the 1900s, early 1900s to 1925. So life got better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Lifestyle got better.
And in fact, Josh, one of the other things that happened that most people don't understand or know about is a lot of people have a pension, right? Pensions are kind of phased out now. 401ks have come in. Where did pensions come from?
Yeah, right.
In the turn of the Industrial Revolution, when all of this happened and all these people went to factories, it created so much more industry that companies were competing for employees. And so there was so much opportunity for jobs that companies were saying, how am I going to keep my employees? Well, I'm going to give them a pension, right? I'm going to put money into their retirement to attract them to come work for me. Kodak and Xerox did the exact same thing, right? They're the ones that created the 401k, which is just 401k in the tax code, right? They invented this after, years and years ago. And how do we keep our employees from going to the competitors? So by and large, it created more opportunity for people to have income. Did they have to learn different things? Yeah, they did. but it created more opportunity.
And I believe that's exactly what we're at today. That's why I study that in history in the past, and why I look at it today, because I go, they're going to look back, and it's going to be the AI revolution, right? We're going to look back and say, hey, in 2025 is when and 2024 is when the AI revolution began, and look how it transformed, just like the tractor and just like the industrial revolution and the factories did then.
And just like the late 1900s and early 2000s.
Yes.
Right? You had the dot-com boom, computers, everybody started to get a computer. You got a BlackBerry, right? The Palm Pilot. Like everybody was like, oh my gosh, jobs are going away. Look how many more jobs we have today because of computers.
And lifestyle jobs, Zach.
Yes.
Lifestyle jobs.
Yep.
Jobs that allow you to go to your kid's soccer game, allow you to go on a family vacation. And as long as you take your laptop or your iPad, you can continue to work, right?
Yep.
I would say that from 2000 until now, our lives have gotten much better as far as work has gone for most people because of those advents. And to the point, right? I look at this AI thing and I look at what's happened just in the last 8 years. I'll always remember you came home from a work trip and you said, hey, Josh, I didn't get a taxi. I got off the airplane and there were no taxis, and they told me to download this app, and I clicked a couple buttons and somebody picked me up in their own car. You remember this?
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I'm getting in the car with this shady person that I got no idea who this is, and it's their car, and it's crazy.
Crazy, right? And you said, Josh, you got to download this app, Uber. You got to download it because you're going to fly to Dallas in the morning, and you're just going to click this button and somebody's going to pick you up. And I thought that was so crazy, right? But I want you to think about the millions of Uber drivers or Door Dashers today who 10 years ago were not an Uber driver or a Door Dasher. But their quality of life is different. Now they work on their terms, when they want, how they want, at what hours of the day, every day, right? And it's changed their life. But here's the crazy thing. There will be no Uber drivers in the next decade. 100%. Absolute. Take it to the bank. By the way, if you're an Uber driver, I'm sorry if you didn't know this. You won't exist in 10 more years.
Yeah,
Robo-taxis.
And the taxi driver didn't believe it either, right? Because like you said, legislation, they tried to legislate out Uber. Yeah. And they tried to make it so the unions came in and said, no, all these, the coaches and the taxi drivers and all those will lose their jobs. We can't have this technology. We can't have Uber. It's here, right? And it's always coming.
So I also, and they're going to get changed, right? They're not going to be driving Uber, but they're going to be something else for them to do, right? Like AI will allow, just like they weren't an Uber driver before, and now they were, but their life got better. Their quality of life and their choice got better. That's what's going to happen in this AI revolution. I also think about, I heard restaurant owners say in the beginning that DoorDash was going to destroy them. Do you remember this? Use some.
It'll put us out of business.
Put us out of business. Nobody's going to come sit down. I also now know, after all these years, we have friends that are in that space, and they'll say, oh my goodness, DoorDash is a lifesaver. Without DoorDash, it's like manna from heaven. Without DoorDash, we would not make it today.
Yeah, when you think of the restaurant business, Josh, you can only be profitable by the amount of tabletops that you have. So when you got certain square footage, right? And you can put so many tabletops in there. Well, those are your patrons, your customers. And so all these restaurant owners that we knew were fighting against. We happened to actually be doing a project in the restaurant world at that time.
A massive project. It was great, cool, big, massive.
Yeah, and these restaurant owners were like, it's like, it's going to put us out of business because we have to share in the profit and blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. But guess what? All of a sudden, if you could only put 40 people in your restaurant in 1 hour, that is the max income that you can make, unless you can upsell them another drink, unless you can upsell them another appetizer or dessert. That's where all the money is, right? Well, people can only drink so much. They can only eat so many appetizers, and they can only eat so many desserts. But now all of a sudden, when you can sell 40 tabletops in your business in a restaurant, and then you have 60 orders from DoorDash, now all of a sudden you have the profitability from the 40 people that came to your restaurant and the 60 people that couldn't fit in your restaurant. All of a sudden you got to serve, right? And so profitability, they couldn't see it. And now all of a sudden they're like, this is crazy. I didn't have to build another, because that's the only other option.
Yeah.
You put in the capital to expand your franchise or your business and you build on, or you go build another building. And that CapEx is huge. right, in the restaurant space. So it made their lives more profitable and better.
Yeah, and I've been watching a guy, a friend of ours. He started a restaurant business with no tables, with no tabletops, only DoorDash, and he is crushing his competition.
It's genius. All you got to pay for is kitchen space.
He's running it out of a warehouse, cheap warehouse space with a commercial kitchen, and he is crushing everyone because he doesn't have waiters and wait staff and all the things. But guess what? That's what makes American ingenuity and technology so powerful. Because you and I are entrepreneurs. We know that all entrepreneurs, when you make money in business, you just don't go blow it on nothing. You want to invest it in what? More
innovation
in business.
Yep.
Which creates more opportunity, which creates more money inside of the system. We call that the GDP, right? The gross domestic product for the United States of America. And I know American ingenuity, whenever money is made, when capital is acquired in the marketplace, it goes right back into the marketplace in some other idea, in some other avenue of finding a solution to a problem that makes more capital and more gross domestic product and increases more opportunity. It's this giant, awesome circle. It's like a giant snowball running down the hill that you can't stop. The snowball is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, unless you stick a bunch of regulation, red tape, and roadblocks in the way of the snowball, right? Or you try and stop it before it ever starts its rolling, when it's this itty bitty thing. And so, by the way, if we happen to have any morons that are trying to stop this and we're listening, I doubt we do. Zach, I totally doubt we do, right?
No.
But after this, we won't. But if you're a moron,
sure. Or they won't be listening anymore anyway.
You're a moron, you're listening to this, and you're trying to stop AI technology and growth. You just don't get it. You're a communist. You should move to another part of the world. Okay, cool. It's just the truth, Zach. Just the truth.
It will set you free.
It will. Yeah. Hey, we'll just let you go. We'll let you go. There's some country like, I don't know, North Korea that will take you.
Yeah.
But whatever. But this is. So when we talk, we're fully optimistic about the future, right? It's not going to destroy jobs. It's going to create jobs. There's just going to be new jobs. There's going to be new opportunities. But I 100% know that it's also going to create a better lifestyle for those that are in the marketplace, right? Because it creates time. I want to talk for a minute, though, Zach, about this is something I'm really passionate about. I know you are too. What is the relationship between reduced labor through AI and inflation and cost of goods? Walk somebody through that.
So technology traditionally is anti-inflationary. So the more technology you bring to industry, it lowers your capital costs. When you lower the capital cost, the price of consumer goods goes down. So for example, think back, Josh, when you bought your first flat screen TV, what did it cost?
Oh, astronomical.
Yeah. Now there are still some TVs that will cost that. But why? Because they have the newest technology that's been invented today to make that product better, right? Mm-hmm. But if you went and you can buy a flat screen TV now, a really nice 55, 60-inch flat screen TV for $400 or $500.
Yeah.
That was like $1,500 to $2,000 when they first came out. And the $500 one you're going to buy today for the same size has better resolution and better technology. So technology is deflationary. So the more technology you bring to a business, the lower your overhead is, and the cheaper you can produce cost of goods. That's why China's kicking our butt, by the way, in most aspects, is because they don't, this is crazy. Go Google some images and some videos. They don't, I just saw this one, they were tearing down a bridge and tearing down a road, and they had automated, so you talk about farming, okay? So there's a lot of technology now that's coming out that you can plow a field and harvest a crop and never be in the machine, right? Automated tractors. So what does that farmer go do while the tractor's in the field? I don't know. He can go on vacation now, right? Or he can go work in town, or he can have another job. But China is leveraging all this kind of stuff, and they can build a bridge in a matter of months when it takes us years. Why? Because their labor's different. They use automation technology and robotics to do that, right? And that really is the biggest race today in the world is AI technology. And the more we regulate it, by the way, in the United States, the higher the price of goods in our country are going to be, the more we're going to pay for things, because we have to pay the labor force, right? Instead of using and leveraging technology. Well, the more that happens and the more these other countries embrace technology, we lose in the global market. So it's more than just, when you dig your heels in and you want to legislate all this stuff and slow it down, and especially energy and energy production and nuclear and coal and all this type of stuff, what you're really doing is you're raising your hand and saying, we want China to kick our butt, because that's what's happening. And so our prices will remain high. They'll continue to produce cheap goods, and without the tariffs, we'll continue to buy them, right? So it is a force that makes life better and more affordable for most people. Josh, this is crazy. If you go do the numbers in the math, okay, in 2008, that was the equivalent of the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. Did you see mass amounts of people standing in line looking for rice and soup handouts like we did in the Great Depression?
No, not even close.
Because of technology. That's just the truth of the matter. So everyone's life is elevated. And even when we go into the equivalent of a Great Depression with the GDP and our economic standards, our standard of living is much, much higher than it was in the Great Depression. So that's what technology does.
It definitely is anti-inflationary and reduces the cost of goods. That's how free markets work. If there's less labor to produce something, then somebody's willing to sell it less than their competitor because there's less money into it and they want to sell all their products. And that's just how the world works, right? That's how laissez-faire economics work. That's how free market capitalist societies function. And I have no doubt that's going to happen as we continue to see these AI enhancements in the marketplace. We likewise, Zach, you brought something up interesting there, that I'll touch on for a second about energy. The real race in the world today that goes hand in hand with AI technologies, energy. I just recently saw something and read something that's a little scary, right? It says that the U.S. economy today, the United States of America, consumes every useful amount of energy being produced inside of our own borders today. That's really, really scary, because I know how much power it takes to operate these language models, right? These AI large language models. And we've got to build massive amounts of them in our country to win. But in order to do that, we've got to produce more energy. And I don't care what side of the fence you're on any energy, whether you don't like coal or like coal, or natural gas or petroleum or nuclear. We've got to have a legislative body in Washington, D.C. and in each of our state capitals that speed tracks energy production, whether that's nuclear, coal, or natural gas, or solar. But it needs to be fast tracked. We can't have these 20-year processes anymore to get a nuclear site up and running, or a coal plant, because our limiting factor that China is going to destroy us on every day is that we aren't producing enough energy to keep up with the AI revolution.
Well, the current amount, I heard the statistic the other day, the current amount of energy that we use in the United States today, okay, China is adding that amount of energy every 18 months.
Think about that.
So they grow their energy production every 18 months, the size of what we currently use every day in America. And we're not growing, we're shrinking ours, Josh. We're getting rid of coal-fired plants. Yeah. We're getting rid of hydro. And we're going to solar and wind, which is highly inefficient. So because of the Green New Deal and all of the environmental uprising, we are losing that battle today. And here's the sad truth of the matter is, when you regulate these companies and when you regulate the energy in America for a zero carbon footprint, what you're really doing is you're giving America to foreign adversaries. They're buying up our farms. They're buying up our businesses. They're adding energy. They're adding coal-fired plants. They're building nuclear facilities while we're regulating and saying no nuclear, or bring them on very, very, very slowly. And the problem is, you can say, yes, I want a green planet, and I don't want global warming, all this stuff. Great, you can say that, but we produce our energy much more efficiently and cleanly than China does. And so we're over here going, we're going to protect the planet and we're going to stop producing all this energy, when really all we're doing is we're offsetting our carbon footprint, because we buy all those products from China that's using that type of energy anyway. And then we put our hat on that says, oh, I'm a good citizen and I'm not, we're reducing coal-fired plants. Yeah, but you just bought all these products from China that produces out of coal-fired plant. So what are you really doing? You're giving our business to China. And it's like, we have to get out of our own way in America, and we have to win this race in energy production because, well, okay, I'll give you a scenario. So you mentioned the Uber driver, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of funny. I was just down in Arizona not too long ago. So we live in southeast Idaho, which is extremely rural. Okay, lots of farm ground. So most of the technology of the world, when they say everybody's going to go to work in like public transportation, over here in our part of the country, we're like, what? Like nobody's driving me 50 miles to go do my job, and there's two of us going, right? It's like it's worlds apart. So we don't see a lot of this new technology that comes on. I think we were probably, after Uber was invented, it was maybe 5, 6, 7 years before we ever even got an Uber driver in Idaho Falls.
Yeah.
Because they just weren't here. I was down in Arizona and I saw this car go by, and I thought it was one of the Google Maps cars, because it had all these cameras all over it. I'm like, oh, hey, what are we going to do for, the Google so we can go pull it up and see it later? And one of my business associates that I was with at the time goes, no, that's a Waymo. I'm like, what the heck? What? I've heard of this. This is a Waymo car? So he's like, watch this. It's pulling into the parking lot, and he jumps out in front of it. I'm like, what are you doing? And it slams on the brake and stops, right? These automated cars. Well, guess what? What does an automated car run off of, Josh?
Electricity.
Battery.
Yeah.
It has to have electricity. So everybody wants to embrace this idea that we're going to go to all electric cars, and we're going to go to self-driving cars, and we're going to get rid of Ubers, and we're going to have these Waymos, and it's going to be much more efficient, all this stuff. But where are you going to get the energy to charge the batteries every night? These hundreds of thousands of cars are going to have to go somewhere at night, and they're going to have to be charged for the next day. Where do those electrons come from? And furthermore, who's going to wash the cars? I promise you, it's not going to be very long before it's going to be automated, and they'll run through a car wash machine that's fully robotic and automatic. Where's the electricity come for that, right? And then there's going to be robots running around detailing the cars and cleaning up the cars. Those have to be plugged in. Like so everything we're doing in innovation right now is increasing the amount of electrons that we need to use in the United States. But everything that's going on regulatory-wise is limiting the amount of electrons we can bring on every day. So it's slowing down technology and innovation.
And that's why I prefaced and started by saying, if you're a moron, right? If you're trying to fight this stuff, that's what you are, right? Because you're farming out America to our competitors around the world, and energy and the production of new energy is probably the most important thing happening in America today to spiral and to grow the AI revolution. And without it, we'll be hampered and limited. But
we'll become communist China.
Yeah,
we'll become. We'll lose the war, right? Like
we'll lose.
We'll be taken over.
And at the end of the day, you and I are extremely bullish and excited about the United States of America and what's going on here in our economy today. And we fully believe that there is more opportunity today than there's ever been, ever. I mean, you and I see opportunity every day. We have the luxury of seeing new business opportunities before us every afternoon. I mean, somebody's bringing it to us. We're involved in quite a few really cutting edge technologies and things happening in the world today. And there, we are fully optimistic that the AI revolution is going to change. Yes, it's going to disrupt and change the way people interact, the way people go to work, what they do, and what they do for a living. But I 100% know it's going to create opportunity. It's not going to hamper or destroy America, just like the tractor didn't, just like the factory didn't before it, just like Uber drivers, get rid of taxi drivers. Like those taxi drivers have a home today. There's somewhere else for them. And that's how I feel about this next revolution that we're just starting to embark upon. So, Zach, that's how we feel about what's going on. Final words today for the listeners around this topic.
Yeah, we've talked about change a lot on other podcasts, right? And this you need the ability to pivot and change in business. And so I would just, for all our friends out there that are listening, if you're resistant to it and you don't like it, like, okay, so I live in an area where all of the ground around me used to be farm ground, right? Growing up, I moved pipe to make money, and I farmed it when I was in high school, and that was my summer jobs, right? Well, guess what? There's houses there now. I don't like it. Our little town is growing, and there's a lot more people, and crime is coming up. I don't like it, but guess what? I can't stop it. So either I can embrace it and I can benefit from it and try to be a benefit to those around me, or I can just be that person on social media that sits and complains about it all day, and then it's still going to happen anyway. So when it comes to AI technology, if you're at a job and you're working and your company's like, hey, we want to use technology, we want to use AI, my counsel, I guess, to our friends out there is don't put yourself out of a job because you don't like the idea that it's coming. Your company is going to put it to work anyway. And if you're not willing to learn it and use it to become more productive and make the company more money, they're going to find somebody else that will. Like at the end of the day, what's really sad is everyone's replaceable, right? Like if you die tomorrow, they will find someone else to do your job. If you're unwilling to do your job tomorrow, they will find someone else to do your job. That's just the cold, hard reality of the world that we live in. So you don't have to like it, but man, I sure wouldn't just complain about it on social media. I would dig in and learn how can you leverage AI? And in fact, I would be the one to go to my boss and say, I've been researching this, and I think if we leverage AI technology this way, we can become more profitable. How secure does that make you in your profession? Like you just became really valuable to your employer. Even if that AI replaces you, guess what they're going to be saying? I got someone who thinks and I got someone who innovates. I want to keep them on the team, right? They're thinking about the company. So you don't have to like it, but man, just for your future, embrace it. And if you own a business and you're not embracing it, your competitors are, and they're going to beat you. Like you got to do it.
You got to embrace it at every turn. And I've been telling my own kids now for 24 years that the skill set that I think that they need to know the very most today is one, how to use technology, how to constantly embrace whatever the new technology is of the day. And two, you better learn how to sell. Meaning, I know a lot of you listeners are like, I'm not a salesman. No, you better learn how to share. You better learn how to communicate, because that's a dying skill that is needed every single day and will forever. It's a skill that if you can share with somebody else a product or a service or an offering and get paid a commission for that, that will never go away. That's just the way the world works. With all the technology in the world, that will still be a skill. But what's happening is the percentage of people who actually develop that skill is shrinking dramatically, exponentially shrinking. And so if you're willing to put some time, energy, and effort behind that acquiring that skill, which by the way, I fully believe it's an acquired skill that you can learn how to be a good sharer or seller of a product or a service. If you're willing to do that, you will never want for anything in the world, because the world will be your oyster and you'll have the opportunities. So those are the two things that I've shared with my boys from the time they could talk, because I believed it with my whole heart. And so I'll share with you that you can do those things too. So Zach, it's been awesome to maybe tackle today our optimism around this brand new technology and what's going on in the next revolution, that before we die, we'll look back and tell our grandkids and our great grandkids that, hey, we remember when the AI revolution started, and we remember the crazy idiot morons who tried to stop it before it started, and look where they're at and look where we're at because we embraced it. So you guys have a great week.
And one day on this podcast, Josh, I think we ought to show the listeners we just launched a new product that leverages AI, and maybe we'll share it if you're talking about it. But today it is unbelievable, right? And it's crazy, and it's leveled up people's businesses that are involved with this. But here's what's funny: 20 years from now, we're gonna look back and we're like, "Oh, that was so bad."
I know.
Technology will be so much more advanced, and we'll be like, "Look what we can do now today," right? But maybe we'll share with you in one of the future podcasts how we're leveraging AI and some of our robotics and technology that is making us more efficient and helping us serve more people.
It's awesome. We'll do it, Zach. Well, listeners, we appreciate you. You guys have a great week. Go out there and slay some dragons and kick some butt in your businesses and in your personal life. And we can't wait to see you next week on the Sound Money, Sound Principles podcast. See ya.
See everybody.